Hello, my friends, and welcome to the DC Infinite Hour. It's been a minute. It's been a while.
Been a while.
It's been, I feel like we've grown, we've changed. Maybe I don't know.
New
But
haircuts.
yeah, new haircuts. Brad looking good. Rob always looking good. You know.
I see Steve in the chat, Josh,
Oh yeah, we got a pop in chat already. Steve,
Cardo.
Josh from before. Just too low.
Ryan.
Yeah.
Plastic RG.
Oh, we got Plastic Rick Grimes. Oh, there he is. Well, my friends, we have a very special episode of the DC Infinite Hour this evening. We have the brand manager of the DC Multiverse brand from McFarlane Toys. Oh, terrible. He'll be joining us here in just a moment. I guess, obviously, our chat's awesome. You guys are always respectful and kind. Just, please feel free to ask questions in a respectful way. I don't even feel like I need to say that. I feel like our chat's always very respectful and thoughtful about their questions. And we will definitely get to the questions that we all want to ask about platinums and releases and things like that. I would say keep in mind that our guest Brian, he manages the brand. I don't think he manages relationships with retailers, yada yada yada. But we're still gonna ask him whatever he can. But yeah, we will get into it. I think should we just bring Brian on right now, guys? Or what do you think?
Heck
Yeah. I
There
think
it is.
there's no time like the present.
Right there, my man. Let's do it. All right. There he is. There's Brian. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Hey, fellas. How you doing?
How is it?
Thank you.
There
Thank you
we
for the
are.
intro. Yep.
Of course. It wasn't my best. It wasn't my best because I wanted to save the storytelling for you, Brian.
Oh,
So
thank you for that honor. Yeah.
Of course. Well, Brian, let's start off. Tell us what your favorite ride is at Disneyland. Let's start there. This matters to me.
Space Mountain.
Right there. He knew what he was. He went right for it.
Not the Florida Space Mountain, the Disneyland Space Mountain.
That's right. Yeah. That's a great choice.
Those who have been on both know the difference. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, I never went on the Florida one because I'm kind of scared of that ride, but I love R1. Last Disneyland question. What's your favorite Disneyland snack when you go to Disneyland?
The popcorn.
Okay, look at this. This is a pro right here. He knows the good stuff.
He knows exactly what he wants.
Yeah, he does. It wasn't even much of a conversation. There was no thought to that icebreaker. Nope. It was just Space Mountain and popcorn.
Round.
Yeah, all right. Well, Brian, why don't we start off? Would love for you to kind of just talk about your current role at McFarlane, and then we'll take a step back and talk about your journey to where you are today.
Sure. So I landed at McFarlane probably 3.5 years ago, McFarlane Toys, that is, and couldn't be happier here. Still working on DC. Obviously, have a long history with DC. I'm director of brand creative, so I kind of kick off the product development conversations, but with it's not just me. There's an army of people over here that bring together character selections, like Jason and John, Todd, and all of them. That make our lineups what they are, but I kind of corral it all, right? And then the design team takes it over and does the masterful work that they do. And but it all kind of starts here and then moves on down the production line, and then you see it in San Diego or New York or Toy Fair or wherever it is in your local retail. So yeah, that's the high level.
All right,
my role here. So, and it's not just DC; it's Spawn, it's Blizzard. Cool new Marvel things we're doing. So yeah, it's all the brands, right?
So you are actually involved with picking the characters that end up on the shelf.
I'm one of the many voices. Obviously, when you release, I think I did a calculation a few months ago that we've released something well over 500 figures in the DC Multiverse line. Including variants and colorways and things of that nature. But without all of us, that'd be an impossible task for one person to do.
Yeah.
But I certainly have a role in it. Right.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I guess we'll definitely get to McFarlane, your current state and what you're doing today. But we'd love to hear a little bit about your background. I know you mentioned a little bit about graphic design earlier. Like, how did you get into the toy industry? Like, where did that begin?
I kind of stumbled in. So I graduated with a fine arts degree in graphic design. I wanted to go work for magazine. I was a fan of comics and Lord of the Rings and everything adjacent to that world. But a college friend of mine had been working at DC and DC Direct in 2005-06, somewhere in there, and she shot me a message. I grew up in Connecticut, and she sent me a message and say, "Hey, there's a role here at DC Direct. Would you want to apply?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course I would." So I started DC Direct in 07 as a packaging designer, assistant art director at the time. Just strictly working on packaging and the old previews catalog that used to order all your stuff from Diamond, and that all those pages on newsprint, so on and so forth, and then slowly kind of evolved. But my role started in New York City. Then in 2011, DC went through a big reorg with Warner Brothers, and DC Entertainment was formed, and Diane Nelson was the president. Jeff Johns was chief creative officer. DC Direct, for a lot of you that know, got picked up and moved out to Los Angeles, and that's how I ended up here. And I've now been here, 12 or 13 years. But was at Warner Brothers from start to finish for 12 years. Was on DC Direct for most of that time, but had a few years, like four-ish years, 5-ish years maybe. I'm losing track of it now, on the creative services team under Jeff, working on some of those early pitches and things like that for what would become, TVs and films from a visual side of it, and then migrated back to DC Direct, and then landed over here at McFarlane when DC Direct got shut down internally at Warner Brothers. So that's kind of my journey and how I
Right, so much to unpack in that whole opening preamble. Please, dude. I was like, that's the whole show. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rob. Oh, Rob, your voice is really
Loud.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, try talking again.
Is this better?
There you go.
Yeah.
That was great. Oh wait,
right,
I think there you go. You're good.
Oh,
Rob,
No,
Rob,
do it
Rob,
again.
no. Whatever's happening there, buddy. It's
Is this better?
yeah, there you go. That's how you
That's
sound.
what it sounds like. Yeah.
Sorry. You weren't one of the main driving forces.
No good, buddy. No good. No good, dude.
All right.
Brian, I swear we need to do better than this. Not by much, but a little
If
bit.
technology can fail you, it will fail you. No doubt about it. I've
How
learned
am I
those lessons
sounding now?
myself.
A little bit better.
All
Say
right.
something.
How about I do this?
Okay, there you go. That's good.
Is it good?
It's yeah. You like AJ says, you sound less like the Peanuts teacher now. So
Okay.
there you go. You're good now. You sound great. There you go,
Okay.
dude. There you go.
So Brian, you were the driving force behind the bombshells statue and figures.
That's correct. Yeah, when in 2011 I pitched Bombshells to Jim Fletcher and Kevin and Jeff, and off we went with those statues that the great Tim Miller sculpted over most of the line. And then we did the DC designers figures, right?
Yeah.
And they were based on Aunt Lucia's art style, and obviously was the doing all the heavy lifting from artwork and figuring out the designs we didn't give reference for and whatever. Just a wonder to work with. So yeah, there were, I don't know, how many figures did we release? 8, 10?
Yeah, something like that. At
Figures?
least 8. What?
Statues were closer to 30 releases, I think, somewhere in there. I lost track, but yeah,
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
Statues.
Rob, I'm sorry, buddy. You're
I'm
again.
gonna drop out.
Yeah, I mean, you made it
yeah,
jump out.
drop out. Brian, while he's doing that, let me ask a question. What was the first packaging you designed at DC Direct? What do you remember?
There was a Death of Superman animated. There were
Oh yeah.
there were mini figures.
Yeah.
That was the and it had I don't what was it? I guess it was just Death of Superman. Was that what?
Yeah, it was based on the
all-
animated series. Yeah, it had like Doomsday, Lex Luthor.
Yep.
Yeah,
Robot.
that's right.
Yeah, so that was the very first thing, and then Batman and Son, Andy Kubert.
Oh yes.
Packaging, and then there was the Superman, the Jeff Johns Richard Donner book, Superman Last
Son. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going way back, but yeah, those were like the first 3, 1, 2, 3 out of the gate. The Shazam packaging comes to mind. The Shazam family packaging came to mind. Those were all just like blister card. But those were those were the first batch of things I did there. Yeah.
What I loved about DC Direct, I mentioned this earlier, was like every time you did a new wave of figures, all new packaging, all new sculpts. Like, was it as fun for? It was fun for me to buy them. Was it as fun for you to keep designing new packaging every couple of months?
Yeah, I mean, DC Direct back then was releasing probably 2 waves of figures a month, maybe 3. So it was a heavy lift because there were only, there you go. That's the
There it is.
Yeah, well done. But
You're muted,
so
Rob.
it was.
I think you're still muted, Rob. Oh man.
Anyways,
man.
I'll keep talking more.
Anyways,
Rob.
yes,
There
I'm
you
sorry.
go. So it was like a different packaging
Yeah.
design every week, is what it boiled down to, between the statues and the action figures. To dig into. But you have to read all your comics and find your reference art. Sometimes you couldn't use the art from the books, so you had to just make it up that was in the vein of the comics that came out. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm not
Did
gonna
you,
lie.
since DC Direct back then was right from DC Comics,
Mhm.
did you have more freedom to use the artwork that you wanted versus, like, I know at McFarlane you're kind of a little bit restricted probably by Warner Brothers and the art they provide. Did you have way more flexibility at DC
Uh,
Direct?
a little bit more, but not much more,
Hmm.
because the art still has to get cleared for use. There's the artists need to get royalty payments, things of that nature. That's not my full language, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was still a bit restrictive. That's why I mentioned, you had to get a little creative if you needed to mimic, Kirby dots on New Gods packaging, because you couldn't use Jack Kirby artwork or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm just making it up,
Uh,
but yeah, so no, it's very similar. I'd actually say it's gotten easier with time, because over the last 15 20 years, Warner Bros. Has been able to clear more artwork for us, so we're getting there. Yeah.
okay. And then what was the segue for you from packaging design to actually action figures? Was it Bombshells or was it earlier than that?
No, it was Bombshells. I wanted to get into product development, and so in my evenings, I went to London one day, and they had, like, Virgin Atlantic had like a nose art illustration on the side
Yeah.
of and it just looked like Supergirl. Sorry, it looked like Supergirl. So that's where the idea came from. So I went home, and we actually met Aunt Lucia at C2E2 in Chicago.
Yeah.
Jim Fletcher found him first. I'm not going to take credit for that. And he said he did all of his illustrations in Adobe Illustrator. There were vector illustrations, and I didn't believe him. So I went home and I tried to figure it out. Like, how's he doing this? And then that's kind of how Bombshells came to it. But that was my first art directing thing there. That's how I kind of got into product development at that point, but strictly with resin, and then the figures came along later.
So you were inspired by a Virgin Airlines advertisement,
I
or
was on
like,
the plane itself. Yeah, they
yeah,
had like a pinup illustration, and there was like a red scarf that looked like the cape, right? So
yeah.
I'm like, oh well, why don't we just do that? And then we met Aunt Lucia like a month later. I'm like, well, here he is, because he had his spook show pinups or something like that, where he was doing like Bride of Frankenstein and things like that. So it kind of evolved that way. But I wanted to get into art direction, so I did some concept illustrations and went to Jim Fletcher and said, please let me do this. And then he did, and onward and upward from there. So
That's amazing. What was next after that? Like, what other lines were you involved with at DC Direct?
Honestly, because as I mentioned, my background's in graphic design, so I still stayed with like doing the marketing, all those promotional videos that were janky in the beginning, but got better and better and better.
Yeah.
I did a Arrow stop motion episode recap with action figures and things
Oh,
like that.
that's awesome.
So I did, but so it was mostly Bombshells. Trying to think of some other. I did the Emanuela Lupacino Harley Ivy statue that's in the designer series. I did a couple Batman black and whites, but not many. The Norm Brayfogle one I got to work on. Jiro Kawada was another one, but mainly just Bombshells, and then the marketing support, all those checklists that came out with Batman animated figures that myself or Travis or a few others at DC Direct would work on. That was all those daily or weekly social posts on our social channels, the old DC Direct social channels. Those were all rolling through parts of my desk, or someone else's, but yeah.
And you were involved with the animated line as well, right? Were you involved with like picking characters, or was it more on the design side of the house with that?
More on the design side, not so much the art direction. That was handled by a few others on the team. But it didn't. That one, as a massive fan that I am, that actually started when I was on that creative service. Mentioned I had a little hiatus on the creative services team where I was working on other things, like Wonder Woman stamps or stuff like that. Like it was like the in-house agency at DC for design work. That Batman animated started when I was kind of on that team. So I'm still I was a massive fan of the show, massive fan of it now. We're continuing the legacy here over at McFarlane and getting new characters out there. But I can't say that I had a hands-on role on that line in particular. But yeah.
But you have a hands-on role in bringing it back to McFarlane, though.
I guess
that is
so.
pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
That's a lot of fun. Finally got Condiment King out there. That's always been a character on the list we wanted to get to. So.
I threw your name up as a banner, but someone in the chat said, "Hey, put the guy's name up that you're talking to." So apologies. Let's take a pause. I've been drilling you for a minute here. Let's see if there's any questions about Brian's time at DC Direct while we're talking about it.
Well, I want to say that one of my personal favorite lines of DC Direct was the DC Essentials line, and I have every single one except the Watchmen, just because I'm not a huge Watchmen fan, but I know there are millions of people who are. So we will get to that. But you guys brought back some of the like the horror deceased versions.
Deceased figures, yeah.
Yeah. Is there any, like, there was that 7-pack with the metallic colors for all 7 figures. Is there any chance that we might see that in the future from McFarlane?
What, metallic deco or more essential?
Yeah, it was all metallic deco across the board of the 7 heroes.
Yeah, I think metallic paint's expensive, but for the right moment, I think it's worth it. Like those 7-packs, it's a great way to get your core Justice League characters now that we have a complete Justice League, which very excited about. We get we could come back with metallic paints. Yeah, I don't think that's off the table at all. No, by any stretch of the imagination. We just want to make sure that those original figures are off the market, so to speak, and not not still out there, because obviously we want to sell the original wave first before we come back with another figure of the same sculptor.
Yeah,
whatnot. So,
understandable.
Yeah, but those were great holiday items, right? There was a DC Icon 6-pack, I think, Justice League.
Yep.
And then the Alex Ross inspired kind of Justice palette with the metallic deco, right? So,
yeah.
Good run with Essentials for sure.
Curious when DC Direct kind of fell under the umbrella of Jeff Johns for that period. Was that a weird shift? Like, I think it was like Huge and Fletcher, obviously the DC Direct guys, and then you have Jeff Johns now, who's a writer, a comic book writer. Now, kind of like, was he giving you direction on action figures, or was it more he was just kind of giving you input? Or just kind of curious what that interaction was like back then.
Well, the great thing about Jeff, and hopefully he agrees with me, he's a massive toy fan. So he's one of us, if that makes any sense. So what you wanted, odds are he wanted as well. So it was a very good marriage right out of the gate, right? So we may have been more Green Lantern heavy than we used to be, but anyways, you know what I mean.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
We got a lot of lanterns out in the Blackest Night, Brightest Day run there.
Yeah.
But no, when we moved out here, no, it was great. I mean, Jeff understood toys, I think. So, it was a very easy marriage. And characters that we maybe would not have touched, like Vibe traditionally or whatever, but Jeff knew that there was something coming with Vibe, or the characters that he knew was coming in the pipeline in the Arrowverse or whatever, that he'd say, hey, get the comic versions out of this. So he wouldn't tell us why, but necessarily. But it was great during that run. Yeah.
I did love the synergy between, like, when you did the New 52 line as the comics were coming out.
Yeah.
So, like, you could buy it right then. That was a great. You're so close to the publication schedule. Was like almost in sync at that time.
Yeah, the Flashpoint story arc was a really kind of special time because the company was really aligned in that time. So DC Direct was getting reference right out of the gate. You had Jim Lee over there, you had Jeff Johns down there, and even so, then when Justice League kicked off with Justice League #1 and the New 52, everybody was kind of ready to go, and that was great. That everything was so. I know everybody has feelings on the New 52, but like it was very clean at the beginning there, and there are good figures that came out of it, good designs too.
Oh, it's one of my favorite.
I know people
lines.
don't love the turtlenecks, but yeah, it's
I love the turtlenecks, and that dark side is still.
I still love that.
Yeah.
If we could get a New 52 Superman for the DC multiverse, I would be ecstatic.
Yeah.
What for you
Making notes.
personally, Brian,
Yeah.
when you had to make that move, was it an easy decision moving from New York to LA for your job essentially, or like was there apprehension, or what was that like for you?
I was thankfully young enough where it was a pretty simple decision. Like my wife then girlfriend at the time was given a similar opportunity in London, so we were long distance for a long time. So,
Yeah,
anyways, I'm like, well, she's gonna go do that for a year or two. I might as well go try this out. And at the time, Jeff was the biggest writer on the planet. It was a very exciting opportunity. I'd never thought I'd live out here in California, but I loved New York City. I'm a Northeast guy through and through. I'm a Phillies fan, all that stuff. But yeah, it was an easy decision to make. We had to make it quickly.
yeah.
But at the time I was 28. I think I'm not 28 anymore. And it was easy. I didn't have any baggage. My parents said, yeah, go. My wife was like, yeah, go. And the rest of us, all of us went. Almost every member on the DC Direct team moved at the time.
Wow,
It was
really?
really
The
great to
whole
keep
team.
the
That's awesome.
core group. Yeah, there was only one or two that decided to stay back, but like Jim and Evan and Sean, all those guys moved out right away. So yeah.
And then how long did DC Direct exist for after you moved out here? Was it good like 5 years, right, or a little bit longer or less?
No, I mean, no. It was 2011 to 2020. I mean,
Okay.
the pandemic made a ton of changes for everybody, and that was unfortunately one of them. But yeah, it lasted a good 9 years out here, so for sure.
What happened? Where did you go right after DC Direct? Like, what was before you got to McFarlane, or was it to McFarlane at that point?
It was a matter of weeks, maybe a month
Oh.
or two at the most. But yeah, it was a natural transition for me to just come right over here. And I was put in touch with the great folks over here, and that opportunity showed up pretty quickly. So yeah, there wasn't much of a gap at all. Yeah.
And they hunted you down, right?
A little bit of both. I'm not going to say
Yeah.
I wasn't pounding on the pavement. Obviously,
Yeah.
when when your department gets eliminated, you're looking for work pretty quickly. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's but it was a two-way street. I think. Yeah, it was a good position to be in.
Good.
Brian, real quick, what would you say besides the bombshell line would be your most the figure or statue that you're most proud of that you've either worked or helped with?
Great
That's a
question,
very good question. I am very excited that we've been able to get these theatrical build. I'm pointing to the Batman Forever wave behind me. These theatrical build-a-waves out into the world. There were a lot of hurdles with likeness. I'm not saying talent was difficult. There's just a lot of hurdles to get through. And the team at WB has been great. So the Dark Knight trilogy, Dark Knight is my favorite comic movie of all time for me. When that movie came out, and digital sculpting was only just starting, 3D printing wasn't fully there yet, right? And I just feel like with today's advancements in technology and the great sculptors that are out there on our team, we were able to capture that. That's probably the one that stands out the most to me, is getting that Heath Ledger, getting all three films kind of in one build-a-wave. Has been really, really sweet. We got more characters to get to and working on it, but yeah, sweet. Getting that Batman and Robin, Batman Forever, so on and so forth.
So Bane's not out of the question, is what you're saying?
For Batman and Robin?
No, he's talking about the Dark Knight trilogy, Rob.
I'm talking about Batman and Robin, since you said you have more figures to get to.
That's a little complicated, but I'm not going to say we're not trying. So yeah, we'll keep trying, Rob. Don't worry.
I'm sure it's the licensing and all that has to go into that, I would imagine.
Yeah, again, that's kind of out of my lane, but yeah, there's figures that every pitch season we all ask for. Can we do this guy yet? Can we do this person yet? Can we do this character yet? Whatever. And hopefully we'll get there.
Are there any characters in your pitch meetings that keep coming up that haven't been made yet, but that you all want to see made?
He's like, I can't talk about that.
Blink twice,
Yeah, no, there are. And I think you're going to see developments like in the next 12 months or whatever, where you're going to be like, oh, now there it is. There's that character that we've been waiting a while for. And it's in some ways, it's nice that they've been held back a little bit because I don't
Yeah.
how many years have we been in this, and we still don't have certain key characters, and
Yeah. You're
so
saying so there's hope for Zatanna and Black Canary, characters like that.
never, Brad. No, yeah, there was yes. So yeah, no. There's definitely. I mean, we've checked a lot of superheroines off the list in the last 2 years or so.
Mhm.
I think we've got a Starfire, Raven, Donna Troy, Huntress just announced
Yep.
to San Diego. Like we're getting through them. So yeah, there's exciting things to come for sure.
Yeah, awesome.
I guess one thing we didn't ask you, and I should have asked you this up front. What do you collect, Brian? Like, obviously, we know about how you got to DC Direct, but were you collecting DC figures up until then, or had you stopped collecting? What was your collecting
I,
lifestyle like?
I was collecting DC figures. I've always been a Turtles fan, not to get off the DC
Yeah.
thing. So I don't have as rich of a collection as some folks do, but I've always been those toys when I was a kid. That's what
Mhm.
like I like
Mhm.
toys. That was I didn't even know what the show was. I didn't know what the comic was. That was the case of me walking down the aisle and being like, "What's that blue? The turtle with blue." And Leonardo's always been my favorite. So that's always been my kind of thing. But DC in general, I'm looking at my collections here, so everybody knows. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's basically been DC and Turtles for most of my adult life. Yeah.
I mean, and it's pretty awesome that you get to have a hand in the
Mhm.
direction of the figures. I know you're one of many over there, but
Yeah.
it's still pretty great.
Mhm. No, it's a my mom gave away my turtles when I was a kid, and I'm like, no, see, we should have kept those. Like this is like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. But anyways, it's a good gig for sure. Yeah, very, very, very lucky.
Now, I guess we should probably start talking about McFarlane toys a little bit more and the DC stuff over there. I guess. I'm sorry. I could talk to you about your DC Direct days for the whole show, but
That's okay. Yeah, that's all right.
let's get into McFarlane a little bit. So you arrive at McFarlane, was it 2021, 22?
2021, like January, like the world, New Year came in, and I was at McFarlane Toys. Yeah, so 2021.
And that was what, like a year after they got the license, or were you already doing DC figures, or had they started?
More or less, yeah. They started early 2020, right? It was announced at Toy Fair 2019, if I'm not mistaken, and then by the time the figures started rolling out, it was late 2019, early 2020 for
Mhm.
sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know. I obviously don't want to ask you too much about the internal workings over there. You work there, obviously, so I want to be respectful of that. But kind of curious, when you first got there, like what was your goals with the DC line, or what did you kind of want? What direction did you want to see it go in?
Well, at least initially, they were having great success on Dark Knight's Metal, and
Yeah.
at DC Direct we wanted to get into Dark Knight's Metal, but we just couldn't get there at the time. So I was
Yeah.
actually really excited because I'm a huge Capullo fan, and Scott Snyder fan of like yeah, let's get more out there. And then as we did that, there was a desire to get more classic and then tell more stories and complete more stories, not in entire waves, but kind of drip, 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 and we've gotten through a lot of it now. Those classic characters. We're doing a lot of the '90s characters now. That's a testament to my colleague Jason. We were kind of getting those things out there. But yeah, it's been just let's capture as much of the DC universe as we can. And almost 90 years to pull from. It's a lot to get to. But Blackest Night, some of the biggest story arcs of the last 30 years. We wanted to make sure we got out there. The build-aways were obviously the most for me, the most exciting ones to work on because you can tell a story within it. But there's still gaping holes in the collection that we've got to get to, not from lack of trying. But yeah, it was initially, let's keep this Dark Knight's Metal thing going, but then also not forget the classics too.
I love the metal line. I love those. The Grim Knight is still up there as one of my favorites. I mean, we've seen Guns return somewhat.
Yeah.
Do you think we might be seeing a re-release of the Grim Knight, possibly?
I think it's possible. Yeah, I mean, and maybe some kind of variant because I know that came out before I got here, so that must have been a 2020 release, right? Or maybe shortly thereafter. So yeah, there's definitely conversations being had. It just has to be released in the right way, so it's not like in the toy aisle or whatever,
Sure.
marketed to kids and things like that. But yeah, we're working towards that for sure.
One thing you mentioned with like the way you release things, sort of like drip, 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 like not really, sometimes it's not really a wave of figures. It's like sort of spread out, like two here, one over here. Is that very intentional? The way you guys sort of release things, is that on purpose? Is it like, just kind of curious what the strategy is like with the way you release things?
A little bit is intentional. We don't want to, God forbid, we like a story and a character and a figure, and then you guys don't, and now we've got a whole wave of figures that nobody likes. So it's kind of like, let's release Nightfall Batman. All right, they like the Nightfall designs. Let's get Bane out there. And
Yeah.
came out in reverse order, but you know what I mean. It's like, okay, yeah, this Kelly Jones story and whatnot is great. Let's keep going there. So I mean, that was a pretty obvious one. Everybody likes Nightfall, but yeah, it's just make sure we don't burn through stories too quickly as well, so we can constantly revisit the classics and say, here's Hush, like Batman Hush, everybody's favorite Jim Lee Batman story, and we can beat after beat after beat, we can constantly go back to it and say, here's more to that collection. So that there's some logic there on this side.
Gotcha. I know one thing we were chatting about before we started the stream was packaging, and I was saying how I would love it if you redesign the packaging every year or two, because that's the way my mind works. But I love it when you're talking about, if you talk about a little bit about the conversation about keeping the packaging the same with the collector in mind. If you could kind of revisit what you were saying there.
So there's a slice of collectors that are in-box collectors, and I'm one of them. So if I want to display something out of packaging, they get me to buy it twice. So that Dark Knight trilogy, for example, I actually bought 3 of them. Two sets still remain in box, and then the other set's out of box over there. Anyways, I like the books I was saying over your shoulder.
Yeah.
How all those like absolute editions line up on the spine. If like collector edition, for example, or even old DC Direct was always numbered, right? So you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? It would drive me nuts personally if we changed the packaging look on a dime. I'd have to buy a new bookshelf and then put the Gen 2 packaging on that new bookshelf, So there is some, there is a thought that, yeah, we started this, we're committed to it, and, it'd be nice to freshen it up, and logos might change or things like that. But the core look of it is the same. But again, it's a push and pull with that. It's like a 50-50 debate over here on if we should redesign or not. But yeah, for now, I think we're with our existing multiverse look. So.
Yeah, I think the people in the chat seem to agree with you about keeping the packaging the same. Brad, Rob, curious, what are your thoughts about the packaging? Would you like a refresh? Do you like it the same? What do you guys think?
I think it works. I think it's clean. That I'm a minimalist, so I like it.
I think that I like the fact that there's an aspect of what you're getting when you buy these figures as far as packaging goes. I also like it though with some of the figures, you've got the logos and you've got their name logos in the bottom left-hand corner as well.
For the digital ones.
Yeah. And
that's true. That's a good point.
It'd be neat if we could do like best of both worlds. For people that want to display them in box sideways, you keep the black with the white lettering on the side of the package, so it's always the same. But then the front of the package, you can change the colors slightly to match each individual character. So if it's a Green Lantern figure, you make maybe the front green, and if it's Superman, maybe you make it, red and blue themed or something like that.
Or going a step further is like you have the one side stay the same, so you can do it that. But the Build-A-Figure, you have like the figure in like a kind of like those books that have like a picture across all of them, but they're like their art is like the main part of that. That could be kind of cool.
I see what you're saying.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think the packaging team on the Batman and Robin Build-A-Wave played with that slice of color on the spine, I think, with the red kind of.
Oh, I love that. That was so great.
Maybe that's something that could be worked in, and it doesn't compromise the foundation of the design, right? So
exactly,
certainly something you could discuss for sure on this side. Yeah.
Well, I know. So we talked about when you joined McFarlane, the direction you want to take things. One of the things I love about McFarlane is like the diversity in the different lines you have with the multiverse, the 66, the animated, DC Direct, Page Punchers,
Superpowers.
Superpowers. Did I miss anything there? That's
Are we still like doing the 3-inch, or has that gone to the wayside?
No, we are. The single packs may not be around anymore, but the 2-packs,
Okay.
where we're able to get 2 different characters in there, that was resonating more. So you're still going to see figures coming out in that scale. So there's do you guys like those 3-inch figures? I mean, I was curious. I mean, I love the world building that you can achieve with it relatively quickly with less financial commitment. But than the our 7-inch figure, but yeah, that's still ongoing. So
I like them. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Rob.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I'm probably with Ahsoka. Like, I like them. They sit on my shelf, like on my ledge by my computer, because it's just small enough. But like, I don't really go out of my way to collect them. But I know there are people who actually do. They like the comic and they like the presentation of it all.
Yeah, I think for me, the smallest I generally go that I want to display is the Superpowers. Because I mean, the Superpowers is near and dear. That was the first action figure line I ever collected. So for me, Superpowers tends to be the smallest. Anything smaller than that, and I feel like just for me, they're a little bit too small for my shelf. So they just for mine. I mean, they're good for what they are, but they just sit in the bin at home. Mine do.
Curious with the Superpowers, Brian. Obviously, I love Superpowers. I have a stack of them right here. Look at this beautiful wave from Entertainment Earth. How it seems like it's doing well for you guys. You're obviously making more of them. What sort of prompted Superpowers coming back? Like, what was your approach to bringing Superpowers back to the modern age?
We were having good success with Batman 66 and DC Retro, and we were looking for another retro line to potentially replace that one. But we got a lot more life and legs out of Batman 66 when characters like Egghead and things like that were just spiking in popularity when we released those figures. They were hugely popular, and a number of us on our side, Jason and Todd, has an affinity towards the old figure, the Superpowers figures as well. It kind of bubbled up to the top, and there was a lane where we were able to go and tackle it, and we loved the vehicles specifically and how ridiculous they are and fun at the same time. And then so that's kind of how it came to fruition in 2021, I guess, late 21, early 22, from a development point of view. And then what we love about it continually is that it supports like really deep cut characters. You can go much deeper, much faster in Superpowers than you could in Multiverse, for example, because it just those goofy villains or characters just work so well in that line. So it's been a dream to have it included in the portfolio, right?
We still need a Lex and a Brain. Sorry.
Go
Brad,
ahead.
you go first. No, you go first, Brad, with your suggestions.
I wasn't a suggestion. I was just saying that the Superpowers must be cheaper to make as far as tooling goes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's cheaper to make. There's less articulation, so there's less involved in assembling the figures. It's a lot of injected colors, so it's and that's why they're $9.99, and they're smaller in scale. So and the blister card packaging is out, but it's exciting to extend that storyline. We've tried some new characters like Batman Who Laughs and things like that. But really it's the classics that work so well in that line.
Now I would like to see like a Lex in a power suit and a business suit, but I think like we obviously want to see more female characters, maybe like adding a motorcycle into it, or like a hard traveling heroes type 3-pack. Obviously play sets, and everyone here knows that I did pitch the Forces of Solitude with the key and stuff, so I'm not going to go over that.
Rob pitched that to Todd directly.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
love
good
that.
place
I
to
mean,
start.
I
Yeah.
would
Shot your
the
shot.
whole world building is just what's awesome about that, and it brings us back to like our nostalgia, like when like all of us were, that age and stuff. And more on the point of like you have that new Batman mold that's more in line with the classic.
Mhm.
Is there any chance we're going to see a Superman kind of like that?
I think so. Yeah, that's we're obviously tooling up new things as we go here. So the change in body type and form factor will evolve for sure. Yeah. So it's sometimes a tough needle to thread sometimes, but yeah, I think that I love that new Batman body as well. So yeah, I think stay
Yeah.
tuned on Superman.
Any chance we
Awesome.
could get Watchmen in the superpowers line, Brian? I'm sorry, I'm playing in
Somebody
my
mentioned
be
that.
awesome.
Somebody mentioned that at San Diego Comic Con or a
That was
panel.
me. That was me.
Oh, was you?
I
Okay.
think that was me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very good idea. I love that idea. So I don't know. We have to get it all cleared and everything like that. But
You don't have to give us an answer right now, Brian. It's
yeah,
okay.
no. But
Sorry.
I would love to do that. That's my own personal fanboy take on it.
With Watchmen in general, is it a harder figure to produce? I know even at DC Direct, you guys never could do a classic Watchmen line. You did the movie figures, you did Doomsday Clock, but I know you produced some prototype Watchmen figures, but like,
Yeah.
why is it so hard to do Watchmen in 7-inch form?
I honestly I don't know the full story or the ins and outs of it. The prototypes that you were speaking of were before my time at
Okay.
DC Direct. I think by a few years. But in the time that I've been around, it's been limited to the media stuff. So the Zack Snyder film, which old school DC Direct did a very
Yeah.
thorough lineup, and then Doomsday Clock with the Essentials, pseudo Essentials line there, and then DC Direct obviously did some statues of before Watchmen. But yeah, it's complicated, and I don't know the whole story, but it's not to say we don't try, periodically to get that in there.
Would the Vertigo line like be as complicated as well, like say Sandman or some of those other ones?
Mhm.
Like
It might
Swamp
be.
Thing.
It might be. I mean, Swamp Thing we've done that for whatever reason is easy to get done. But yeah, Sandman. We've talked about doing it and making sure that we do more than just one figure to make it worth it. Rather than just a one. I mean, Sandman and Death are the obviously the 1-2. So I guess I would say stay tuned there. I don't. We just that's a situation where we just haven't gotten there yet in the line, right?
Yeah.
And I know with DC, well, there's a lot of questions I want to ask you, but I guess kind of tying back DC Direct to now McFarlane. So you guys brought the brand back to life in a way.
Yep.
It still seems like it's a shared brand with DC Comics and McFarlane, so it seems like there's a partnership there. How is it decided like what figure is a DC Direct figure versus what's a mainline McFarlane multiverse figure?
So the let me see if I can explain this clearly. the figures that tend to truly be based on art styles tend to go towards DC Direct. So I know that Superpowers wasn't an art style by an artist per se, but it has an art style to it. So that's where that went in there. Page Punchers deeply rooted in the comic book. DC Direct's slogan for all those years was direct from the source. So that's why Page Punchers made a lot of sense for those 7-inch figures, those custom 7-inch figures that we've been doing, and the 3-inch Page Punchers. Obviously, the resin statues are synonymous with DC Direct, like Batman Black and White, things like that. And those are each individual one of those is based on an artist. So that's the main kind of initial direction. I mean, the multiverse definitely dives into the art styles, but not as all encompassing as say some of those Page Puncher figures might, or the statues for sure, right? Like that Bill Sienkiewicz Batman statue. They're a very challenging figure to make, right? So,
and then I guess with that being said, with DC Direct, you brought back the animated series. How did that conversation come about? Was that you pushing it, or just a group of you there? Like, curious how you guys brought that back.
There were a lot of us on this side that I mean, like all of us, anybody that grew up in the 80s and the 90s has an affinity towards that, Paul Dini, Bruce Timm, so on and so forth show. And a lot of us believe that there was just life left in it, characters that we hadn't gotten to yet, and at the time Target was interested. That's why it's been exclusive over there. And we just said this would be a great thing to re-release, because DC Direct's runs at the time production runs were pretty small. So there's a lot of folks out there that maybe didn't have the chance to get those original figures. And then on top of the fact that doing it as Build-A-Figure wave with those new characters just seemed like a perfect fit. So we're able to bring back the old characters and add new characters, and re-release vehicles, or release vehicles for the first time, like the Joker Mobile, which had been tooled up at Warner Brothers but never produced. We were able to finish over here. So it's just, it's just, I think, the greatest animated series of all time. So to bring it back, it was just an obvious selection, I think.
With the I know obviously they're a little bit different from the DC Direct days, like the plastic specifically just feels different. Was that like a choice, or is it just the manufacturing is so different from when they were originally released? Like the way they were, the factories you're using, I'm just curious, like how the plastics are different.
Some of those decisions have evolved. I mean, it's a new team, working on it. On the production side, we're making a lot more volume. We tried to get the price point. You're getting a Build-A-Figure line for $30. I think the DC Direct figures were $35, $36 towards the end there, maybe more. In some cases. So there's just been some natural evolution. I don't have a lot of visibility on the production side, but that would be my guess there. That DC Direct had a lot of painted parts. There's more injected plastic now, which helps keep that price point more approachable. But yeah, we're still, I think, maintaining the quality. And inherently, it's just a little different too. So I mean, the cell shading's there, but we want to make sure the figures look a little different than the original releases. We try not to release the same thing twice as it is, right? So that there's definitely some thought there for sure.
Now I know eventually. Oh, go ahead, Rob.
Sorry. Just with the Batman, and then you have the New Adventures, and I know the DC Direct did the Justice League and then Superman and Lois. Is there any chance that we might see Superman the animated series down the line? Because that's like a whole world that you can definitely build out, even with like Aquaman, Green Lantern, and
that's what I was going to ask. You
Darkseid and all that.
There's New Gods in there for sure. It's a natural progression. Yeah, I think we've got more life in the animated Batman world for now. But obviously, Justice League animated on the DC Direct side was Justice League and out. There's definitely a plethora of characters to choose from there. So I think, as long as the planets align, everything works out. I would say that's the natural next step for sure.
Right, you're great at answering questions and giving us enough to to know. But
there's
not
a lot
too
more
much.
decisions that happen after.
I get it. I love the way you're handling these questions, my friend. You could be a politician, Brian. It's great.
I certainly hope that doesn't happen. But anyways,
It's got so many things I want to ask you, Brian. I guess they asked the great questions about the animated line and where that's going. I guess talking a little bit more about, I have a question for you. How do you guys get stuff out so quickly, man? Give me some breathing room. You announced something today, and I got to pay for it next week, and it's just a week after. I mean, it's an embarrassment of how quickly you guys get stuff out.
When I was DC Direct and Warner Bros., I used to think that we were the quickest turn and burn company that there was. The folks over here, a great production team, our sculpting team, obviously our great team at Warner Brothers that turn the approvals around quickly for us and bend over backwards. They're the unsung hero kind of behind that logo of theirs, that they work their butts off to get us the approvals that we need on the likeness side, on the reference side, on so on and so forth. It's remarkable how quickly McFarlane Toys can make a quality figure. And then there's just so many lanes in which the figures are released, different lines, all the retailers, the great e-commerce sites, the specialty stores, and then the mass brick and mortar stores. There's a lot of buckets to fill. So I think that's why you constantly see it coming down the pipeline.
So what would the turnaround be Like from concept, like, okay, we want to make this character. You decide you're going to make that character. What is the turnaround from then to having it coming off of the shipping boats?
I mean, it's typically in a perfect world, it's a year.
Yep.
A year to 16 months, or but you've got to sometimes you got to react faster, and like the theatrical lines are always tricky. Not the legacy lines, the Flash movie or Aquaman or the newer ones.
Yep.
Because they're making the movie when we should be making toys, and it's sometimes tough to lock the reference down. So that's, you got to turn and burn, you just get more people on it. Sometimes you have to double tool some things, but to make it happen. But yeah, it can be accelerated. It's just sleepless nights for a lot of folks.
No.
Wow. So actually a year from like design to arriving in stores for
Yeah, approximately.
more or
Yeah,
less.
it can be longer for sure. Yeah, I mean, we'd love to tinker on toys for even longer than that to get it absolutely perfect. But yeah.
So by the time we see the official photography, it's already pretty much done. The figure, like, it's already in production somewhere.
Correct.
So that's
That
why
is
it seems
correct.
like we get it so fast. When you show it to us, it's actually been there for a while.
Yeah, I think the earliest you guys see it is at our panels typically, or because we'll cheat and show renders on those panel slides. Obviously they're all approved, but yeah, it's typically the pre-order window is a month or two, so that's why it's up for pre-order, and then before you know it, it's in your hands, right? So, or you have to go in store and find it, that kind of thing. But yeah.
Love it. Okay,
Amazing.
I guess a couple questions about. We definitely can see that you guys are trying things out, adjusting things on the fly. I know, like, one of the things earlier this year was the collector edition line, right? And kind of like us trying to wrap brains around what is a collector edition figure, and I guess what is that like defined as today? What do you guys consider something that should be in the collector edition, a few more bucks kind of frame?
A few more bucks. Yeah, I mean, it's not, which in the position at retail, we try to cater the Batmans and the Supermans and the Flashes and maybe some Green Lanterns in the most trafficked areas of the stores, but we don't want to abandon you guys, and the heart, the diehard collectors. So we can get away with more in the collector edition from a character selection point of view. We can include more accessories, slightly higher price point, but we can get more accurate with tooling. We can add more accessories. I think you guys have been seeing an evolution in the content that's in the box and collector edition. We can get the wired capes in there more frequently, and I think everybody's been a fan of the wired capes. I've certainly done a 180 on my position on wired capes myself, because of what the team has achieved here. So you're able to get that Green Lantern pack is a perfect example of it. Abin Sur, or Tomar Ray, maybe not the most popular Green Lanterns, but they're essential to your guys' collection. So it's a perfect home for characters like that. And so that's kind of so the slightly lower level characters, I don't want to call them deep cut because they're not. Like Hawkman's not a deep cut character in my opinion. So but not that superstar level that really needs to move the needle. In the toy aisle, we can go just a little bit deeper and in the collector edition line, and that's been a good home we've found over the last, I guess it's been approximately year and a half since it started, where we've been able to see a lot of great characters come to fruition there, like Starfire, one of the more recent inclusions there. Huntress again was just revealed. More artistic takes on Batman, like Frank Miller's Dark Knight with the battle damage, and the lamppost. Like, that's a great example of collector edition. It's got, even though we did the Dark Knight Build-A-Wave, we weren't able to get all that detail in there. We weren't able to get the lamppost in there. We weren't able to get alternate hands in there. It's a good fit. So I think it's becoming internally here our favorite line, because of we're all fans here as well. But.
No, I love the newest stuff too, like Ragman and
Things like that. Yep.
You mentioned the wired capes. Is there like a difference why you choose like more of the taffeta style versus like the cloth style, like with Tim Drake Robin? Because that cape I think is superior than to like the more taffeta style wired cape.
I mean, be honest, we're still, kind of. I mean, the wired capes are relatively new over here. I mean, I think the Batman 6-pack was the first time we really dove right into it. So we're still exploring those materials to see which reacts the best. The bottom line is the wires in the cape is a huge hit over here, and I know hopefully for you guys too, because you can pose the cape. It can, and that's one less thing you have to tool too, right? So odds are you're getting more accessories because it's a fabric cape. So it's a kind of a win-win. But in terms of materials, Rob, I think we're still exploring. So let it be known, I guess, which material you guys like. But it also depends on what's going to sit on a certain character. Sometimes they can get it too puffy on the shoulder just based on the design of the figure, and we want that to hang properly. So there's a push and pull there in the selection process.
I just learned taffeta. That's the new word I learned from Rob today.
Yeah,
well, I didn't know
you and me both.
Like I don't know about I don't know about cloth manufacturing apparently. So there you go. So the wired capes are a hit. I love them. I think most fans do. I do like plastic though in some scenarios. So I guess there's that give and take there. But
we're not abandoning the plastic cape. I just want to say that right now. We're not getting. It's not like it's not going away or anything like that. We're still gonna feature them in the line. It's just maybe when it's our second or third visit to a character, maybe we'll do the wired cape, or if there's a accessory we definitely have to have in there. I'm like, okay, we'll do fabric cape, and then we can get those accessories, that kind of thing.
I know I have to ask this about the platinums because it's given Rob a lot of anxiety. He ordered a case of those Green Lantern figures to make sure he got his platinum. I did too, so I'm not,
I missed it.
I'm sorry, Brad. I'm sorry, buddy.
I missed it.
Sorry. Yeah, so you got us ordering cases. So well done from a business perspective, Brian. So I guess you're waiting over there, but obviously, for me, I'm lazy and I don't like to hunt anymore for things.
Yeah.
Now you're making me go to the store. So again, maybe this is all a part of the master plan that's working, because we have to go to the stores to find these. But I think my biggest issue obviously is like the Manhunters, Sportsmaster, those characters that don't have. To me, a platinum should always be a variant of something that's already like mainline. But I guess I'm sure you've heard the feedback. What's your take on the platinums?
So I too missed the platinum edition on the Green Lantern figure. I was on plane, and all the pre-orders sold out by the time I landed. So I'm right there with you guys. But we are trying to recreate some of that hunt with unique chase characters. The pandemic obviously changed a lot of things, and we all got used to pre-ordering. So this is kind of a way to maybe just jumpstart that collector hunt. We like the idea, but I don't think you're going to miss out on them. It might require some patience. But although they'll be limited in quantities, they'll appear. I think you'll get them. So every time you go to your brick and mortar store with your kids or whatever to get a gallon of milk, just make sure you swing by the toy aisle, that kind of thing. And that's become my new routine. I was doing it already anyways, but I'm just looking a little harder these days. So it's meant to inspire that collector fan base and get that hunt going again, because we like the fun of it a little bit. It's not like we're trying to give you guys a hard time, but and it's also a great way for us to get those super deep cut characters out there to you without the commitment of quantities that it takes to, it's just a different way. We're trying it out. Only just started, but I like to tell the story, and I told you this, guys, last week when we talked about having this live stream. Was the Batman the Animated Series Wave 1. It didn't show up in my Target for probably 6 weeks too, and I really had that fear of missing out. And I'm like, am I going to have to bite the bullet and either drive through ridiculous locations to get it, or buy it on eBay like everybody else that can't get it? But eventually it showed up, and eventually it was there for a while. So I think good things come to those who wait. So maybe you'll get it.
Patience is not our strong suit, especially.
No, I'm aware.
None of us.
One thing I will say I know a lot of people have mentioned, at least to me, is that if you're gonna do army builders, not to put it behind the chase paywall,
Yeah.
like
That's fair.
the Green
fair.
Lantern
Manhunters.
Corps or the Manhunters, for instance,
Yeah.
are multiple. Some people buy a ton of them, and it definitely makes it tough. But is the target like build a wave for the year? Is that kind of gone to the wayside?
It has. Yeah, we've decided to focus. If you remember the Target Build a Wave, like the Crime Syndicate one, there was that, and then there was one set of gold label figures. Quarter 4 year, more or less, we decided to shift to twice the amount of single figures for them. There's more than that too, based on the season and out of aisle opportunities. But we wanted to save, I guess, or wanted to feature, I should say, the Build a Waves everywhere, because we knew we had good content coming. And so that was a shift there. But you're still technically getting the same number of figures, just minus the Build a Figure, obviously, which especially on the mega figure side, it gets deep cut real fast. So when you were losing bigger characters in the Build a Figure line, it was cannibalizing the mega figure line. So there's a balance there that we had to figure out. But
Hey, Brian,
can I pitch something?
Of course you can.
We got Brian captive.
We want this guy.
Oh,
yeah. Yep.
Hunter
Prey.
Superman.
Hunter
That
Prey.
is a great.
You could even
choice
do
for-
that with like a classic Doomsday 2-pack.
In the multiverse line or in another line? Or
However
all
you
Either
get
or.
it.
Okay.
Either or.
However you can get it out.
Yeah, just not a Platinum Chase though. Just not a Platinum Chase. Anything else is fine though.
Okay.
I would even love this in Superpowers.
Gold
as
label
well.
Platinum Chase for Rob.
There we go.
Yeah.
Also, I'm
kidding.
going to plug this just because the Matthew
yeah.
Ryder 2001 Armageddon.
That's a custom Rob
Wave Rider.
Boys
This is my custom.
Mhm.
But I would also love a Monarch. That would be a great 2-pack as well. From
Yeah.
that. And then and then extent from the 0 hour.
I heard a pen click.
But yeah,
Right here.
Yeah.
but I mean, this is just using the now my brain went numb.
Blue Beetle Buck, right?
Beetle Buck or
actually,
Booster
this is
Gold?
Booster Gold, and
Yeah.
then Green Lantern arms, and then Animal Man's feet and hands, and then of course, Wave Rider's face, which is a little bit larger for but it works. But Monarch obviously would be a new tool. I think them two for the Armageddon 2000, and then they also went into like the DC Weekly. Remember that, the 52 Weekly?
Yeah. New
Oh
52,
yeah.
Monarch-
Like
Monarch was in that.
2007,
Must have been
Yep.
Yeah, the 52. Yeah.
And then he eventually became even extent in 0 hour, as I nerd out. But yeah,
All right, Rob. Enough pitching for the moment.
No, I mean, hey,
We'll get
like
back
the-
to that.
we-
Don't
we-
you
we
worry.
do like character requests. You know that Todd did it at our San Diego panel, and I was on my computer writing all those ideas down, because I mean it takes an army, right, to come up with all the uniqueness in the line. So please keep it coming, right?
Guys, you heard him in the chat. If you have any suggestions, keep throwing them in there.
what about like
McFarlane guys.
a containment suit Doomsday?
Yeah, that's been talked about quite a bit. I'm going to tell you, Monarch has been talked about quite a bit. Yeah, there's
Nira.
Yeah,
Nira.
I mean, Captain Carrot's a good one. I'll just tell you, Captain Carrot was in the first, I think, in 2021. It was we tried to get it out then it was 2022, and it didn't ultimately come out until late 23, or was it early 24? I can't remember. But sometimes it just gets shoved down the line, because something else comes along. So it's not because we're not trying.
Yeah.
One question I had, Brian, is about production runs these days. It feels like we hear a lot of things that you guys are every company's producing less because there was too much being produced a few years ago. Is that accurate? Are you guys are you actually producing less? Should we be more cognizant about getting stuff we want now? Because you probably won't see them later. What's your take on
No,
that?
I don't think you're gonna. I don't think you're gonna miss out on the opportunity. You might miss the pre-orders online, but I don't think you'll ever miss the opportunity in store. We're definitely trying to make enough to meet the demand. There was this weird buildup of inventory after the pandemic, and I don't know if you guys remember the shipping containers off the
Yeah.
coast that were just sitting there.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it all opened up, and all the figures came pouring in, and nobody had any space for them. So there was a bit of a little adjustment in that time, but I wouldn't say that we're limiting out of we're being cognizant of inventory, not making sure
Yeah.
there's things sticking around forever. But again, that is a threading of the needle too. How many do you make? How many don't make? But I don't think we're ever going to under make something. And hey, if we see it sell out really fast, that means like, oh, we got it wrong. So we're going to come back and try to release that figure in a new way, best we can.
So we know that there are less made of the platinums, right?
Yes.
So what do you have? What is it? Can we have an idea of what the production run would be for platinums? Like it would be like 500,000 or 50,000.
Certainly not 500,000, but I'm honestly, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how they get sorted in the case packs quantity wise. That is many stops down the production line for me here because I'm more on the front end of it. But they are definitely limited in nature. But like I said a few minutes ago, I think even if you can't pre-order them, I don't think you're going to have trouble getting them. I know a lot have shown up on some shelves recently, and I don't know how that works from out of the container into the distribution center, and I don't know how there's a lot of steps in there that I don't have the visibility to, but yeah, I don't know the exact quantity, to be honest with you.
Oh, fair enough. I guess one figure though that definitely a lot of people ask me about is Wonder Woman. She came out beautiful. Luckily I got one. Any chance we're gonna get a reissue of her?
Or like a rebirth?
More than likely, yes. More than likely.
Okay.
We're just letting that one. I think just the team really crushed it on that one.
They did.
They got the classic one, and we're just kind of letting that breathe a little bit rather than inundate you guys with a bunch of different Wonder Womans. But yeah, there's more to come there for sure.
One thing I'd like to see is we have like the traditional buck, then we have kind of like an adolescent but almost full grown skinnier buck.
Yeah,
we do have like that Dick Grayson Robin that's shorter. I'd like to see like a much shorter buck for like Aqualad, for like the original Speedy,
like
for Impulse at that size.
I'm with you. No, that's a great idea. Yeah,
one that you could reuse and like just make it like a plain buck, kind of like that. And then if you have to add on stuff to it, you can. But you always have that smaller buck.
Yeah, I think the only super small figure we had as a foundation was like the Carrie Kelly from the Dark Knight, and that may or may not have evolved into some other figures. But yeah, it's a very good point. I mean, it's not every day, those shorter figures come up, so that it's tough to say, all right, we're going to double down on the tooling on this one. But no, it's a very good idea. Just pick your time and moment, so. Yeah, like you could do the very young Jonathan Kent, do the Super Sons, like someone was saying in the chat. Got to make those a DC Direct or work on them adjacent. But that'd be a great idea. Yeah.
Do you think you guys have released enough Batmobiles this year, Brian? Or
Nope.
Nope.
Never too many Batmobiles.
I did tell you I do want that Batman and Robin Batmobile. So
I want the Norm.
We're not going to make, just so you know.
Oh, ouch!
What
were you saying? I know. Well,
the Norm Brayfogle Batmobile.
Very classic comic style.
The 90s. Nightfall.
Yeah.
We haven't done a lot of comic Batmobiles. We did the White Knight. Yeah. There's definitely, we're kind of all in on the movies right now, but that's not to say, we just announced the Red Hood bike a couple weeks ago at Comic-Con, but just went up for pre-order. So yeah, there's definitely comic vehicles that need to be gotten to, some animated vehicles that we need to get to, so on and so forth. But I think we'll release 10 Batmobiles next year. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, obviously, I'm a fan of the Batmobile, so
The Bat Ski
you know,
Boat.
yes, Bat
Yeah,
Ski
there you go.
Boat, the Batwing,
Uh-huh.
another Batwing. I mean, we'll take it all.
Yeah, I have my Flash Batwing right here. Like, it's mounted on the wall, so if it falls, I'm in big trouble. So yeah,
I have the Flash Batwing. If you guys get to like the 89, I'm like
No more
trying to figure out
room.
where I'm going to put that.
We'll,
Right there.
we'll find a spot though. A lot of people asking in the chat, Brian, about female
Yep.
characters. Of course,
Yeah,
I'm
like
a
a
big fan of
nude-
female characters.
nude buck.
Any plans to try to do more female characters? What are your thoughts there?
we're figuring out the right cadence, but I think you've seen an increase in the last 10, 12 months, right? I think Wonder Woman may have kicked it off, but like I said, we've done, Supergirl, Huntress, Fire just was announced. Batwoman, we've done. What else? Obviously, multiple Catwoman. Starfire was one that we had to get to. So
Raven.
I know that Raven.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know Power Girl and Black Canary and all those are on everyone's list. So don't just stay tuned. Leave it
Okay.
at that.
Yeah, that's good. Fair enough.
I think the what people have been also saying is that they'd like to see a naked Buck without the Catwoman sleeves and long, you know what I mean? With
Yeah.
that.
Mhm,
So
sure.
it's just more.
That's fair.
I was
Yeah,
worried
no,
where
that's fair.
that comment was going, Rob. When you
No, that I was.
but
The nude Bucks. Sorry. Oh, also, someone in the chat keeps saying, "Creature Commandos." Will we see anything like tied into that?
The new animated series or the
Yeah.
the old?
Well, either or, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of great characters. I think so. I can't. Yeah. So stay tuned. Yeah.
Brian, just share your screen and just open up the folder.
Here's
Come on,
our
dude.
call,
It's all right. No one's watching.
pitch
No one's
and our
gonna know.
straight pitch,
Todd
yeah.
will be cool with it, dude. Don't sweat it.
Since Superman is about a year away, the new Superman movie is about
Yeah.
a year away. Have
a
you
little
guys
less
already
than that now.
began work on the figures for that?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, that's like we talked about those production timelines, so you can put two and two together there. So
Yeah.
but yeah, there's a lot of work to do. There's so much new good content. We're excited about the next chapter in the DC universe, right? So I know it's been limited to what the chapter outside of chapter one. We know they've announced the Brave and the Bold style thing and Supergirl.
Yeah.
They had a casting, but much more than that. We're still waiting like the rest of you guys.
I have to ask you about the Batmobile one more time. The green versus the blue.
Oh,
I mean, obviously, I assume you guys wanted it to be blue. I guess any context on kind of what happened with that.
Yeah, we're it's still in conversation. Obviously, I think the earlier samples that we saw were bluer. So we're trying to get to the bottom of it. But I think in certain lighting it looks a little more blue than green. But I understood the criticism, the feedback there. So we're looking into it.
I mean, I still bought two. I bought the glow in the dark
Good.
version and the regular version.
regular?
So,
And you got
Yeah.
Alfred. So
yeah, I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with both of these, but I love Batman Forever so much, and that Batmobile is my second favorite Batmobile after this one. So
that's the 89. Yeah, got it.
that's the 89. That's the Hot Toys 89 one.
I know. I mean,
That-
That's
is
a
it 3
grail.
feet long, 4 feet long. I mean, how?
It's
somewhere in that.
it's bigger than my 1-year-old. That's for sure.
Yeah, my
Taller than she
buddy,
is.
my former colleague at DC, the cubicles had bookshelves, and he had one, and it took up the whole bookshelf. I think the
Yeah.
wheels were like a half an inch over on either side.
It's a
It
little
was-
bit, yeah. It's a little
Yeah.
sticking out a little bit there. Well, Brian, I know you've been on for like an hour 15. I don't want to keep you on too much longer.
I'm here, guys, and yours for however long you want.
Well, okay, we're gonna keep you on then. I think we got through most of our questions as far as like understanding.
Oh, I do have a question.
Oh, there it is. Go for it.
Okay,
dude.
so one of the pieces that I always wanted, and I never looked it up on eBay, so I guess I could always do that. But the Asbat's head sculpt, like the helmet, I know Ahsoka has it
Here, I'll grab
on
it
his
real
shelf.
Oh, I have it
And,
too. I have it too.
Ah, there it is.
Yeah, that piece, like I absolutely love that. And is there any chance that we might see that, because you did do the 89 mask?
one. Yep.
Any chance we might see that in the future, like a reissue almost?
Yeah, so these were done in resin, and they were
But it
really
would be
really
PVC.
they were really pricey.
Yeah.
I think you may have bribed our marketing team, but yeah, there's a smaller iteration of that cowl line. We announced the 89 one at 1-to-1 scale, but there's a smaller iteration that I think is great for the collector and all of us. And you may, the ASBAT isn't in that initial wave. I'll be quite frank with you,
Okay.
but that's not to say that we're not. It's an obvious one to do. But yeah, there's an exciting line coming at 1/3 scale at a very approachable price point, featuring more cowls.
And that is an excellent segue into our exclusive reveals. Let me go ahead and see if I can share my screen here. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. I had to reinstall my operating system, so I can't share it. Rob, do you have it handy?
I do. I just have to pull it up. Sorry.
Pull it up. So guys, we're going to share with you exclusively on the DC Infinite Hour some new 7-inch scale Batman cowls that will be coming. Let me get to the press release here. Pre-orders launched September 3rd at select retailers.
Here, I am going to copy this. And here.
That is Tuesday, next Tuesday.
Oh yeah, that is
September
next
3rd.
Tuesday.
And that day
Sorry.
is going to come fast.
It is. It is. You got it, Rob?
Yeah, just give me one
No
sec.
worries.
Just want to make sure I have both of them. Okay, yeah. All right, so now I have never shared my screen before, I don't think.
That's great.
So this is exciting.
Yeah, you should be able to select a window pretty easily.
Oh,
It's the
window.
suspense. You're building suspense.
Yes,
And-
it's building the anticipation. People are like Postman.
All right, let me. Sorry, guys.
I mean, maybe I can share it faster.
No. I could do it, but I think it's gonna kick me out of here. Let me try one more time.
Here we go. And I'm just going to put this in here. That way, just turn this off.
He's got it. It's coming.
Okay. So, share screen. There we go. Okay. So, can you guys
Nice
see
work.
this?
There it is.
Those look cool.
Ooh.
So you can see by this wave, there's a commitment to not just media or theatrical or TV based, but also comic based as well. And you know, there's a lot of great infographics out there on the internet that if you just type like Batman cowls through the ages, you'll see that there's like 100+ designs. So this is, I'm super excited as somebody who worked on the half scale cowl program at TC Direct. This is, this is great.
So these are 7-inch scale plastic, and they look great. And I imagine, I don't know what the price point is. And let's see here.
They're $14.99 if I'm not mistaken.
Can't be that.
That's affordable.
Yeah, that's great. And how tall are they that you said?
So there's Ahsoka said 7-inch scale. They're probably 7 inches approximately in height, but I would say they're more 1/3 scale if I had to put a scale, a proper scale behind it, right?
And I did see the 1-to-1. I'm sorry, I did see the Batman 89 one at Comic-Con. It was great. The 1-to-1 was amazing, and even the smaller one you can make a really nice shelf of just cowls. So super cool.
And then we have one more, which is going to be for the Target fall, right? Is that it?
Oh yeah, for the Geek Out.
The
Fall
Geek Out, yeah.
at Target.
Yeah.
Yep, that's correct.
So that one is this one.
And that goes up August 30th. Exclusively
Animated
at Target.
cowl.
Look at that. And then there will
Those are
be
fun.
there'll actually be a total of 9 pre-orders launching that day. I don't know what the rest of them are, but it's part of the Target Fall Geek Out pre-order launches. Yeah, so there'll be more announcements soon from McFarlane Toys about the other pre-orders. I'm terrible at reading a press release, Brian. I apologize. This is awful. This is preparation. Hey, can you share your screen, Rob? Okay.
The last time we're sharing anything with you.
Yeah. you think we would have been better prepared for that? But
Right?
there you go. So there's some exclusive reveals.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to those.
Yeah, I mean, we're cognizant of how much space everybody has. Clearly, you can see behind Ahsoka, Rob, and Brad, and me over here. It gets a little crowded. So the 1-to-1 scale is great for those with some space, but this is a tribute to all the great cowl designs over the 85-year history of Batman, right?
That's
exactly
awesome.
Those are awesome. Well, Brian, why don't we take some questions from the audience, and then we'll let you get on with your evening. I haven't been looking at the chat much, but let's take a look. Let's see if you have any questions, guys. Any questions for Brian while we have him?
Just more Green Lanterns. Like, I'd like to see it fleshed out more with the Earth Green Lantern, and then of course that, and then construct pack or 2 or 5. That would be great.
Yeah, no, I think, we may not get to all, how many 3,600 sectors or something like that, and how many lanterns there are, but there's a lot to still get to, obviously. So we'll get there. There's more lanterns to come.
Awesome.
People want more White Knight figures, and I agree with that. That's a great line.
Ryan Burris wants UFC figures.
Okay, sure.
Okay, I have to ask about that one. But yeah.
Let's see, we talked about Barda and Mr. Miracle.
Oh, more goons. Can we get goons like Joker goons and?
Can we get Bob the Goon?
Yeah, Bob the Goon.
Bob the Goon, Brian.
More goons. I'll write it down. I mean, it's a valid. There's on the Spawn side, we did some minions where you make a figure and there's kind of interchangeable parts. But we could achieve that with goons too, and things like that.
And that would be great army building too.
Yeah, GCPD police officers, like you can do it across the board. The Manhunters, as you were saying,
Court of Owls,
all sorts of things. Court of Owls, that's a good one too. Yep.
Any chance of a Cape Crusader content from the new animated series?
I just started watching it too, so I'm liking it so far. So maybe, it's not up to me. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of people too that has to make that decision. But it's nice to see the Bruce Timm animated art style back in play.
I like this. What is your favorite figure from the past year from the multiverse line? Your personal favorite?
Can we take another question and I'll think about it?
Yeah, sure. Let's see.
Ooh, the Panther suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an obvious one for sure. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think Josh said, can we see animated, like, the Grey Ghost and that, but more into like the DC multiverse line where it's more like realistic. I guess, like the Phantasm and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that is a good point. I've only really typically thought of those characters in the animated series, but it's not. That's a good idea, a good suggestion for sure.
I
would do that.
I say, how come Ben Affleck wouldn't let you use his head sculpt for the Flash?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's more complicated than that.
Was he just like, no, I'm not doing it. Was it J-Lo? Did she say no, Brian? Yeah. I'm just kidding.
Stop taking my calls. So, anyways, the BVS figure came though, so there's that. Yeah, that's good.
Hey, listen, it was something. Let's see. Will it be the more stylized figures like the 2006 the Batman and Beyond be possible adventures continues? I guess we want more Batman Beyond figures.
More than just the ones that were released around San Diego Comic-Con time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. It speaks to the question that you guys, or the request about Superman animated and Justice League animated. There's more of the Timmverse to explore, right?
Yeah.
Question for you, Brian. Do you collect any other lines outside of McFarlane Toys? Outside of the DC?
We know the Turtles.
The Turtles ones are the big. That's the big one. I only have so much disposable income, so that's the main one for sure. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Do you like the Mirage turtles?
I don't have
No preference.
no preference. Yeah, I'll put it that way. Yeah, no, it's the animated style turtles are what I grew up with, so that's kind of what I tend to go to for sure. Yeah, I got to figure. I'm still trying to figure out my favorite figure for the year.
Is it one that hasn't come out yet? Maybe.
That is definitely true.
Ooh.
So in 2 months, I think we're gonna check the box of a long overdue, properly done figure. How's that?
Ooh.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, that's a
Or
great
figures,
tease.
shall I say? Figures. So
Look at the showmanship, Brian. I love it.
leave you hanging. Yeah. No, I like real quick. I like the Superman Batman fusion figure we just came out with.
Oh,
from
yeah.
Bandai as well.
Love it.
Yeah, we saw that in the comic, and like that's a toy. That's one that recently. I know that Cyborg Superman was a long time coming, so that was a fun one. Plastic Man. That's an easy one too. I think Plastic Man as a Build-A-Figure was just I think a great way to fit him in the line. And then the Anne Hathaway Catwoman and with the Bat Pod, and then the Lucius Fox with the tumbler, and the theming we've gotten going on where we can get, like is Lucius or Alfred or whatever, those cool toys, maybe not, but pairing them with vehicles that add to the storytelling is fun, right? So those are some of the highlights for me.
How do you feel about customizers, and do you guys look at customizers as inspiration?
All the time. Yep.
Awesome.
Wow. Okay.
There you go, Brad.
I mean, you do have the Kit Bash King of Canada with us. So
I don't know. I haven't posted on the gram in a long time.
your stuff's always great, Brad, when you do. I would love to see the Bat from the Dark Knight trilogy, Brian.
Really? Okay.
Yes, I love that.
I guess that's the last vehicle to do from that.
So that with a with the little Commissioner Gordon.
Can we get a Rachel Dawes?
Yes, both versions. Ooh, Maggie
Preferably
Gyllenhaal
the
can be
Katie
no, one's going to be the platinum, Rob. Maggie
but
Gyllenhaal.
But which one is the
regular
one?
Please don't make that.
Rob's a big Dawson's Creek fan, Brian.
I am.
Okay, all right.
It's formative
Nothing
for
wrong
him
with that.
in those years.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot. The Batman Begins, which this will make you feel old, is the 20th anniversary of Batman Begins in 2025.
Wow.
So putting that out there. I mean, there's certainly characters that we'd love to get out. Like,
well, that makes sense.
Like Ra's al Ghul, maybe Jonathan Crane in his suit with just the mask on, like from beginning of Dark Knight. Yes, Rachel Dawes. Who else am I missing there? But yeah, there's more characters. Same with Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. There's more characters as fans.
I mean, you could even do Harvey Dent before he became Two-Face as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
So you're saying that once these movie lines are released, it's not the end of it, possibly. You could
we've kind of summed them up in the Build-A-Figure waves, but it doesn't mean. I mean, you saw that with Dark Knight. I mean, we have the interrogation scene. Lucius Fox. There's been more to come from them. We can't maybe get a whole Build-A-Wave out of them, but there's certainly more figures to come.
And these guys know, like, I was never a movie figure collector.
It wasn't.
They never looked good and stuff. But then you guys pumped out like the Justice League, and I mean, I love the Justice League movie. So like those figures really hit home for me. And then you came out with like the Dark Knight and then Batman and Robin, and the sculpts have just been probably some of your best work yet. And so like, I'm excited to see where it goes.
We have some of the best, I think, sculptors on the planet here. And obviously, Todd is laser focused on the likeness, right? So it's, in the art direction there. So I think, there's been a lot of great likenesses captured across the recent figures we've released.
Superman 4, Richard Pryor.
Oh yeah.
Oh dude.
Now we're
Superman 3.
That
was Superman 3.
Superman 3.
Yeah,
Right.
Superman
Ryan,
4 was
please.
with
Approve that right now. Can we contact the Richard Pryor estate? that possible?
That is definitely an untapped set of films there, and there,
Yeah.
so
The Nuclear Man from 4.
we're working through it in no particular order, but Dark Knight's more recent, and now we're going back to Batman Forever, and but yes, yeah, so we'll work through it, I guess is the best way to put it.
Brian, I think we're done harassing you.
You are?
for the
Okay,
time
that's
being.
all right. That's not harassing at all.
Well, guys, we appreciate you having you so much, Brian. It's been awesome, and
Oh, thanks for
a wealth
having
of
me.
knowledge, and
it was becoming a running joke between some mutual friends of ours that I hadn't met. I've met Rob, Brad. I haven't met you guys, so now you're on the list. But Ahsoka, because you're LA local.
We finally met. It was a beautiful, magical moment.
Diego. Yeah, it was. Yep,
it was nice
for sure.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Brian. We will let you go. Brad, Rob, any final thoughts for Brian as we wrap it up here?
Well, a Batman 85 anniversary is coming up, so I'm imagining we're going to see a lot more Batman coming up. Can't wait for that.
85th anniversary.
Special items.
Yeah, 85th.
That's this year, right? Or is it next year? I can't remember now. But yes,
I'm pretty sure it's this year, right?
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
I have so much respect for you, Rob, going out with more requests and questions. What I mean?
I just want to say thanks for coming on. I love talking with you, and this has been fun. Anytime we can.
Thanks to all you guys. I mean, a lot of the guys on the team here are good friends with you guys. You guys are, you have the constructive feedback that we listen to, but are fans too. So thanks for both of it.
Appreciate it, Brian. All right, guys. With that, thanks everyone in the chat for participating tonight. Thanks everyone for watching at home, and we'll see you next time on the DC Infinite Hour. Take care, guys.